Hey friends, welcome back to the Live with Audacity podcast. You're listening to episode number 52. Today's episode is so life-giving. I had the pleasure of laughing hysterically with comedian Wendy Maybury, single mama who lives down the street from her parents, and we get to talk all about how she had the audacity to get into comedy, how she lost 160 pounds, raising kids through a pandemic, and my favorite subject ever, living authentically into who you really are in order to serve your true purpose. Who's up for it? Wendy grew up all over the U.S. as a military brat, which means she learned to make friends fast because in 2 weeks, she was probably moving. This helped her develop the warm, friendly style she's used to entertain audiences all over the country for the last 7 years. She signed with Stand Up Records, and her first album, She's Not From Around Here, was released on June 26, 2020. Go grab it right now on iTunes or Amazon. Wendy is also the producer of Day Drinking with Mom, a show that offers comedy, sympathy, and some drinks to help moms relax and enjoy the roller coaster of parenting. So come take this wild ride with Wendy and I while we explore all the intricacies of life together. You're listening to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart. Audacity is defined by Merriam-Webster as intrepid boldness or disregard for normal constraints. And that's exactly what we have here. The Live with Audacity podcast is aimed at giving you the courage to explore your someday dreams, do things your way, and start making things happen in your life right now. I'm a mama to 4 kiddos ranging from college student to kindergartner, wife to a high school football and track coach, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Together with my guests, we're going to teach you how to live with audacity and intentionality, discover and utilize your unique skills and talents, and step into who you are meant to be in order to make your someday dreams a reality. Are you ready? Here we go. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning back into the Live with Audacity podcast. I am so excited about today's episode because I get the pleasure of speaking with Wendy Maybury, and she is a comedian, which is so exciting and so fun. And she has her own stand-up album, and also is the producer of a show called Day Drinking with Mom, which, by the way, that sounds like my ideal show. And we were just, right before I started recording, talking about our kids and the silly things that they do, like scare us at night and, things like that. And so we have so much in common, and I'm excited to talk to you about all the things. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so psyched to be here. I was really excited to get to come.
I am so excited to have you. I want you to tell us a little bit about how you got into comedy in the first place and kind of started to realize you were funny, and then how you have incorporated that into your business.
Sure, absolutely. So I actually am from the South. I'm a military brat. I was made in Japan, lived all over the U.S.
I was made in Japan. I love that.
Like all good electronics. And I lived in Virginia for a long time. I moved to Georgia. I lived in Germany. I lived in London. That's not true. I lived in New York and LA. LA was what was trying to come out of my mouth. And I'd love to have lived in London. That would have been fantastic.
That would have been so fun.
It would have been amazing. And then I lived on a boat for a while. It's really nuts. And when you're a kid in school, and this is why I was so excited to talk to you about like using your natural gifts and stuff. I've always been so chatty and always been super interested in everyone's mood. Like, is everyone okay? Is everyone happy? Can we make everyone happier? Like, that's just been a constant life thing. And no one ever said to me, hey, you're really funny. You should be a comedian. Or, hey, let's find a job where you talk for a living. Like, they were all just like, they were all just like, shh, be quiet, be smaller, shush, like read more.
Oh,
So
Girl, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And every year, every report card you had on your report card talks too
Yes.
much, doesn't use time
Yes.
wisely.
Visits with her neighbors. Yes. Visits with her neighbors was a big one. I'm like, well, duh. And then the rest of your life, they're like, be neighborly. I'm like, I was always neighborly. Why'd y'all hate me for that? Anyway,
Right?
so
Because you
it
tried to beat
wasn't
it
there.
out of me.
I know. So in college, I actually went to school to be a teacher because I knew that teachers got to talk in front of audiences every day. That was the part I was excited about, not the education part. Ooh, I get to be in front of a crowd all day. I'll be
Oh
a
my
teacher.
God. I
So
love it.
I went to school for that. And then I discovered I'd always liked photography. And this is back when photography was actually hard. Like you had rolls of film. I'm a boomer. And you either got it or you didn't. It wasn't like digital where you had 1,000 tries. And so I actually went back to photography school. And then after photography school, moved to New York and worked for like this really famous photographer that I'd admired. Actually, I honestly, Melissa, I found her work when I was in second grade. My parents got me a photography book and this lady's images were in it. And I loved them when I was 8 years old. Yep. And then I got the opportunity to work with her in New York City as an intern for 2 years. It was
Oh
incredible.
my gosh.
Yeah, it
That
was
is
so neat.
incredible.
It is. I always love the way when people talk about their life and how seeds are planted really early and then they just sort of flourish into something later if you let them. And so that was
Yeah.
one. And so I became a photographer, which is also really training for comedy because you meet someone and I have to make you relax right away to get a good picture of you. So that skill of like disarming people was something that I got
Ooh.
to practice in photography way before I ever thought about being a comedian. So then I lived in New York. And then after 9/11, I moved to LA and did more photography work out there. And then I got a job shooting ad for Target and they're based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so
Mhm.
I moved to Minneapolis and I moved in September. And I don't know, Melissa, where do you live in the country again?
I am in Houston
You said, okay,
area.
so it's always hot. You're good then. Okay,
Always hot.
so yeah, so you're a Southern girl, you get it. And so I moved up to Minneapolis and the first year I moved here, the actual temperature one time was -25. I'm like, what? That's an
Oh,
and I remember freezing is 32. So that's 50 degrees below freezing. Like that's insane.
guys, this is crazy because if it was 28 degrees basically in Texas, we would stay
You lose
home
your
from
mind.
school.
Yeah, you get out of school. Do you know what? The kids here get to play outside until it's 10. If it's 10 degrees outside, they still play outside.
Oh my word, that's
I
so
know.
fantastic.
Anyway, but so I moved here and I just didn't have any friends and I was having the hardest time meeting people. And I thought, people had always told me I was funny when I was in LA and New York because I dealt with a lot of actors and comedians. They were like, oh, you do like these little stories or like bits. And I'm like, whatever, I'm a photographer. And so I thought, well, I don't know anyone in this town. Let's just try it. So I was 35. Is that true? Yeah, 35 the first time I got on stage. I was older. And so that's another encouragement. If you are in the middle of your life and you feel like, I hear 20-year-olds sometimes say, I'm so late. I missed the window. I'm too old. I'm like, what? You're in
Dude.
your 20s. Like, relax. Don't fret. Anyway,
Well,
so
what's crazy about that real fast is that in my
yeah,
20s, I was like, I'm not old enough to do anything
yes.
big or do what I really want to do. And now that I'm in my late 30s, I'm like, son of a gun, I missed the boat. Like, I'm so late to
Everyone
the
feels
party.
No,
Yeah,
you
I
just,
know.
it's only a race with yourself, but it's so funny because I had that feeling too. And I look at these people now, these online influencers are like, well, at 24, I built my empire. I'm like, what the hell? At 24? Oh my
I
God.
know. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm 28 years old and I wrote my first book and I did all these things. I'm like, dude, I was still trying to get my crap together at
Oh my
28.
gosh. I get my credit score up. What are you guys doing right now? And they're like, I have 1 million followers on TikTok. I'm like, I had
Thanks, public education.
yeah. I had that phone where you had to hit each letter 4 times in order to make the right
Yes.
letter. Like that's what texting was when I was your age, but okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You're like, you have it
So
so easy.
I know it's just a different world. Although I will say that I think the self-esteem part is much harder
For
because
sure.
you weren't on stage as much. You could do stupid crap and no one would notice. I mean, I would make
Exactly.
crazy mistakes or say weird things to guys that I'm so glad they don't live on the internet forever, just like,
Oh my God, I love that.
dramatic crap where you drive to someone's house and your outside is, you watch Say Anything. So all of a sudden you've got a boombox above your head. And it's just not the same when you're not John Cusack. Anyway, it's a little psycho when you're a chick. So where were we? Okay, we're in New York. 9/11 happens. I moved to LA, moved to Minneapolis. I tried stand-up comedy. And the first time I got off stage, a lady came up to me and said, would you do my house party? I'll pay you $250 to come do comedy at my house, which is, by the way, any comedian will tell you, oh, horrible, horrible idea, because it's not a comedy club. You're in someone's house. Like, and there's no microphone. It's just like, who invited this weird girl that's standing up and joking right now? Like, nobody wants that. But I did it. I got the 250. I was so excited. I thought, wow, this is easy money. And in stand-up, you get paid to try. You don't even have to win, like just standing up, they pay you. Like, that's such a great gig. Most places you have to produce something. So anyway, so I started doing stand-up and I just really loved it. And I found that all of my natural won't shut up, likes other people, not afraid of the stage, disarms, and all that stuff was like made for stand-up. And that's just one of those careers that nobody ever tells you that you can do. It's such a strange deal. You know what I mean? It's like way out in the universe. Yeah. So I did that. And then the record, I have an album coming out in June 26th, and it's already hit #1 on Amazon, which is awesome. But I'm hoping to hit #1 on iTunes, because that's what actually makes a big difference in getting people to pay attention to you.
Yeah.
So if you're an Apple user, I would love it if you would download it. But it comes out June 26th, and that's been a couple of years in the making, and it's just been really exciting. And I've just been writing new jokes. So I started stand-up. I think I've told you, I weighed 310 pounds, and I was single. And then I lost 160 pounds and made a baby. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Oh my gosh, it's so fantastic. When we were talking, I saw that you had lost 160 pounds, and I asked, what was his name? Because
that was so funny.
Well, just because, most people, when they've lost that much weight, that is like a whole person. That's,
insane.
Sometimes a person and a half. And so that's so incredible. Tell us a little bit about how you did that, and how did comedy play a role in that at all? Or
it's funny because so when you put stuff on the internet, you become super conscious about the things about yourself that might not fall into societal norms, right? So I have always been really friendly and really nice, and I always had friends around me that were really friendly and really nice, and there were people who probably had nothing to do with me that didn't like fat people, and they just probably stayed away from me because like, ooh, fat girl, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't even notice that they were missing in my life. And then when you go on the internet, and then everyone has a chance to go, ooh, oh my God, what is that about? Then it becomes a little bit more. I actually remember feeling like, oh God, this is worse than middle school. This is being bullied online is way worse than anything that happened to me in school, because there's so many of them. And people are so brave when they're behind their keyboard and they don't 100%. Know you. Yeah. And they can't talk to you. They're not having conversation. They're just crapping on stuff. And so I had another friend of mine who's a really great actor say to me, people on the internet that are hating or criticizing stuff aren't creating anything. Like, people who are creating are busy creating. Yep. People who are out there crapping on stuff have nothing to do but to crap on other people's stuff. So who cares what they think, Right. But I did get a lot of,
by the way.
What'd you say?
I said, I completely agree, by the way.
I do too. And once you think of it that way, it becomes really easy to look and say, okay, who cares? What has this guy made? Because no one who's ever made anything really goes out of their way to squish someone who's trying to make a difference.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, 1000%. Once you've created things, you support other creators, because you know how difficult it is to show up.
So hard.
Once you do it and you practice a muscle, you'll find you lean into it. But that initial start to believe that you have something important enough to say it is such a act of faith in yourself that no one's going to crap on that. Right. Who knows?
And if they do, like you said, they're not spending time creating things for themselves and building a better life for themselves. They're just trying to pull everyone else down because they hate the place that they're in their own life.
Yeah, that's for sure. Right. And so a little bit of that played into it, but actually I went to visit my brother in Switzerland, and Switzerland is the skinniest country in the already skinny Europe. And I had nowhere to sit. I'm like, holy crap, there's nowhere to sit in this whole country, because in America, if you've noticed, we don't have arms on the chairs anymore. at a lot of places in public, there's armless chairs. So you can be as big as you want and flop off the edge. And in Switzerland, there's like arms everywhere. And I literally am like sitting on the edge of every chair, like, hey, this is not a comfortable country for me. So I came back
and the whole country.
Yeah, it was the worst. And so I came back and thought, I've got to change something. I mean, I was 37 at that point or something. And I had like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and pre-diabetes. And I'm like, Wendy, you're going to die. Like, you got to. And some people can be really big and be healthy actually for a while. Like, their genetics don't let them do that. But clearly my genetics were like, you're on a bad path. So I started getting up every day and walking 4 to 6 miles, or 6 to 10 by the end, I think, and eating 1,200 calories, which sucks. Sucks. Anyway, there's nothing good to say about that. And,
it sucks.
It sucks. That's just it. I mean, always like, oh, it's going to feel great. Like, you always say, lose weight, you're going to feel good. I'm like, no, I'm hungry and angry most of the time. Like, I don't feel great. I feel aggravated that people eat donuts.
I feel pissed off.
Yeah. It sucks that my genetics are like, we hold on to all the food.
And we love carbs.
Oh man, I just love me some carbs. This has the pandemic been hard on you being at home and eating, or do you not struggle with that?
Well, no, I 100% do. And here's the thing. I've always kind of struggled with it in I'm just a foodie, man. Like, I want carbs and I want cheese and I want butter and I want bread and I want dessert and I want it all.
Yeah, I totally do. And some people are like, have you ever met people who are like, oh, I'm so stressed out, I forgot to eat. Who are you? Like, who does that? Like,
I have actually been there before. But it was, I would so much rather drive to Chick-fil-A and get some lunch than forget to eat.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, those cows need your support. Anyway, eat more chicken, baby. So yes, I lost 70 pounds that way. And then I actually had a weight loss surgery because I had already in my life lost 80, gained back 120, lost 70, gained back 90. Every time I would lose, I would gain back more. So I had a weight loss surgery that for me was a fantastic solution. People, I would encourage you to, and your listeners, if you have someone in your life struggling with weight issues or any health issues, and the doctor advises them to take a course of action, don't armchair Google doctor them. Let them believe in their medical team. Like, that's what I would tell you. Because I had people tell me all the time, oh, don't have a weight loss surgery because you're going to like lose all your hair and look old and tired. And it's not going to work. And it's like, well, I lost 160 pounds. And that was in 2012 that I lost all the weight. I've had a baby since then. My life is great. So you can take your essential oils and just kidding. No. Sniff them someplace else. Anyway, so I always feel like doctors who, the one dangerous thing, or not one dangerous thing, but thinking about Facebook now with moms too, is like somehow we have stopped trusting experts or stopped believing in them. And I think a lot of people who have spent their whole life studying do have your best interest in mind. Like, you may not agree with them, and you've absolutely that right. But I think just saying that all doctors are evil, come on, that guy spent a lot of time, or woman, in school to learn how to treat you. They took a Hippocratic oath. They probably want you to live. Like, anyway.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully that's their
well, I do have a theory about that too. So after being in the military, I was a military brat, right? And you always get whatever doctor they assign you. So I am super picky now that I'm a consumer of medical care. So I only go to doctors that I trust. And then I go, okay, you're in the team. And it was really funny because my OBGYN said to me one time, I feel like I'm at a job interview. I'm like, you should feel that way.
You should feel that way.
Yeah,
I shouldn't just walk in here and that's crazy. Yeah.
I'm spending money on you and you're providing a service to me. This is not a favor. So I need to feel like you're responsive to me. So I am real picky about that. But once I find my people, I go, all right, I'm going to go down the road with you and trust what you're telling me, or find another physician, but anyway, that's a long thing.
I love that you pointed that out though, because, you and I can sit here all day and be like, you can trust doctors, but most people have had the experience where they couldn't really trust their doctor, or their doctor, wasn't on their side or whatever. And so, it's super, super, super important to make sure that if you got to interview them, then interview them. Like just do what's right for you. You're your own best advocate. No one
Yes,
else is going to do it for you.
for
Literally no
sure.
one.
And you need to, one of the best things I ever heard was, and I don't know if it was an Oprah. Do you miss Oprah, by the way? I really miss
I
her in my
really
life.
do. I got to be
I do
honest.
too.
Sh- I I want to have my own show just like that.
Yes, that would be amazing. But I miss her. She was kind of in my formative years. She was on in the afternoon telling you like believe in yourself and listen to your body and don't trust your instincts, and really great messages that came from Oprah. But one time I remember it's either her or Martha Beck in the O magazine had said like, talk to yourself as you would talk to a beloved child. So like if a doctor was treating your baby wrong, wouldn't you be like, nope? And you'd be, but if someone treats you that way, then you also advocate for yourself the same way you would advocate for a little sweet child. And I think women don't do
Yeah,
that enough. Yeah. And
100%.
yes, if you just pretend to be, it's weird. It's almost like being your own mom. Like, nope, no one gets to treat Wendy that way. We're moving on to a different doctor. Like,
Yeah, so funny. I actually had a podcast interview with my friend Justine Beauregard, and she has a gap in her front teeth, and she said that she finally had to learn like to love herself as much as she loves her kids. And so this is a perfect
yeah,
analogy for that, is like love yourself as much as you love your kids. You would never let someone, treat your child in a negative way, or not listen, or not be attentive. Like, do that for yourself too. And that's kind of what Live with Audacity is about, is sticking up for yourself and speaking up, because you are your own best hero, right? Is
yes.
and being that person for yourself.
Well, it's that put on your own oxygen mask thing, which everyone kind of laughs about, but it's so true. It's like if you're not there, this is something I've been struggling with recently. That's that change of being a mom, because there's things I would have done as a single person, putting myself more at risk. And now that I'm my son's only person, well, he has my, other people in his life, but I'm the mom. I'm like, yeah, you're Grayson's person. He's only 6. So you've got to at least get him to an age where he can fend for himself. And that's not now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he needs to have a mom longer. So anyway, that sounds
Maybe
weird.
at 8. Maybe at 8
Yeah.
you'll be like, okay,
At
now I
80,
can.
take it.
You're on your
Yeah.
own, boo.
You're on your own, boo. Good luck there, buddy. So anyway, that's a big long story. I think Melissa, I feel like I could talk to you forever, which is a great sign
We
of a good
can,
host.
and we will. I wanted to ask you, you said that you lived a block away from your parents, which is so
Yeah.
hilarious to me, because I literally have lived a block away from essentially a block-ish away from my mom and my parents for most of my life. So it's hilarious that you said that, and I want you to unpack that a little bit. How did that happen?
Oh my
What do you love
gosh.
about it? What do you hate about it? All the
So
things.
so my parents lived in Georgia, and then they moved to Florida, and then I lived in Minneapolis, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm geographically as far away statewise as I can get from you and not be in Canada. I felt like maybe
Yeah.
that was a thing that I was saying. Anyway, and they
Mhm.
just missed my son. They were like, we want to be around our grandson. So they were visiting me, and then unbeknownst to me, took a walk and bought a house on the walk, which who does that? Retirees can do that. That's who. Retirees from the military. They were very cheap while they were no toys for me, but now we can buy a house, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, right down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah, so they literally bought it a block away. You can't see it from my house, which is a blessing, because I can't see who's there or if I'm there or whatever, but they are a block away. So it's great because Grayson can run back and forth to their house, which I really love. It's weird because my brother, who lived in Switzerland, mom has no idea if he's coming or going, but she'll
Yeah.
say, have you left the club yet? Are you on your way home? Are you still doing comedy? When are you going to get? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The weather's terrible. It's icy outside. Are you sure you should? I'm like, So that's the part that I have a hard time with. I'm like, I think my mom thinks I would forget to breathe if she didn't remind me. If she wasn't there going, inhale, baby, then I'd probably just be fired. So,
oh my God, so funny. Is she like that with your son?
maybe she worries too much about him. So my son, okay, let's talk about the pandemic. I am not. I had this illusion, right, that I was going to be this mom that could like bake bread and cut my garden and homeschool. And just if I had just found my husband, I would be this like super zen, the kind of Utah mom that like, you see in the blogs. That would have been me.
With your essential
No.
oil, of course. Yes.
Yes. No, that was not who I am. I am a mom that has a job. So now that I've been homeschooling, I suck at it. And I feel like my son will never take school seriously again. First of all, he hasn't worn pants in 3 months. I don't know that he'll ever be able, they're going to say this will go on your permanent record. And he'll go, oh yeah, who cares? There is no permanent record. Are you going to send me home to mom school where the teacher drinks at noon and she passes me anyway because she's not doing kindergarten again next year? Like,
oh my God, girl. Yes. Yeah. All of it. Yes. So there.
So she's very worried about that. She's very like, he's going to fall behind. I'm like, he's in kindergarten. He will get the color blue. It's going to be okay. Like,
it's going to be fine.
Oh my God, Mom.
Or so you could just send him down there for homeschool and then she can send him back after school is over.
See, I tried that because first when the pandemic started, I didn't let him go down there because I didn't want him to get them sick. And then after like 6 weeks or 5 weeks of her complaining that I wasn't doing a good job and I felt like we had been isolated long enough, I'm like, fine, you can have him. And then she says to me, it's so hard to get him to do anything. I'm like, yeah, and you're not trying to keep a job.
No kidding.
Hello, it's not easy. So I've just, you know what? I feel like the entire world is calling the last 6 months a wash as far as education goes. And I don't have the energy to worry that to death.
No, right? And like you said, he's going to get the color blue, right? Like it's going to be fine. If he can read, excuse me, if he can read most of the, what do they call them? Sight words and, knows how to count. He's good to go. He's fine. It'll be fine.
I talked to the principal and the principal's like, we've got this. We'll catch him up next year. Don't stress. Just don't start hating each other and get into, because I found myself being like the tension. I don't know how it was in your house, but the tension over you're supposed to do this. Like it was going to end up badly.
Yeah.
It was just
my 5-year-old who is also in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband is a teacher. And so some days we have a camper and he would go out to the camper and he would work with her and she would be great and she would be fine. And like, life was good. Like, okay, they'd be back in 45 minutes. Okay, Mom, we're done with school for the day. I'm like, dang, that's so incredible. I would sit down with her and we would sit there for an hour and a half and she'd end up in tears. And I'm like, I'm so glad I did not become a teacher because this is horrible.
I wonder if it's the mom and daughter thing though, because I always feel like there's some weird tension with mothers and daughters that somehow dads, like when your dad tells you, you're like, oh, all right. When your mom tells you, you're like, hey. And I just don't know. I don't know what that is. I wonder if that's it.
Maybe. I don't know. But it's funny because she is like the sun shining on my life. Like she is my best little friend, built in. I birthed my best friend. It's the greatest thing in the whole wide world.
You know what? I love that you say that. And I feel that way about my son too. And this is that one thing about women that I think is tough, right? So whenever we have problems, we'll say like, oh, I have this terrible rash. Everyone jumps in like, oh no. Right. But when you sit back and say, oh my God, I'm so blessed that my husband is not a jerk. Like I married a great guy and my kids are amazing. Like, oh, wish my husband wasn't a jerk. Wish my kid. I feel like sometimes when we say happy things, they don't get received. Yeah. And the same. So I love that you say that about your daughter, that she's sunshine, because I feel guilty slightly about the fact that my son was either born with a computer chip that first I just adore him, but he was born with like an easy chip. I don't know that I did anything to make him this way, but he is literally, we didn't have terrible 2s. We didn't have crappy 3s. We're now 6 and I freaking love him. He's hilarious. And I think maybe for me, go ahead. It was late.
No. You go ahead.
I think it's because I had him when I was 40 and I didn't think I was going to be a mom. So it changes a lot how you feel about like, hey, everything becomes way more precious. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so the only reason I ever kind of feel guilty about saying stuff like that is people like to be like, oh, so you don't love your other kids as much? And no, that's not true. I do. Of course I do. but like, I don't know, she's just snugglier and cuddlier and overall more joyful and happy. And it might just be because she's still little. I don't know, but she's just always been like that. And she is always gravitated toward me and made me feel like she needed me too. And the boys
Yeah.
like could like they're fine on their own, right? Like they'll go play and they'll entertain themselves, and she is too. But like, I don't know, she just makes me feel needed more, and I
Oh,
think maybe that's part of it too.
maybe
I
it
don't
is.
know.
I do, they say you're one of this lady that I truly love online, and I've been reading more and more of her stuff. It's named Byron Katie. She talks about the best teachers are the ones that you live with. Like you get the people in your life that teach you this stuff are in your home a lot. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I think that's so clever that you're looking at it that way. And maybe you just had that hole of needing to feel needed or wanted to feel like you had a buddy in the house or, I love that
Yeah.
my son has the same, my son and I are super extroverted and we love people. And that I'm grateful for because I drag him around all the time. He doesn't care. He can go anywhere and meet anybody and be like, hey, and they all think he's adorable. And so it would be really hard if he were a kid who hated people because I don't
Right.
like to be home.
I know. Well, and you know what's so funny is I just had a I just had a flash forward, like one of these days you guys are just going to be out there meeting people and doing comedy for people and just like be people on the street
A
just
duo,
talking to
that'd be
people.
hilarious. I think we have thought about, with day drinking. So I have a monthly show called Day Drinking with Mom, which now is online, and which is interesting because we were very nervous about pivoting to online, which we did after COVID-19. But actually, it's awesome because anyone can watch the show now. And you don't have to go to the club. And so I feel like it opens up this whole world of people who can enjoy. And I've always found comedians that I love and that are moms and dads. And so the jokes are either about being a mom or about your mom. So everyone can do it. You don't have to be a female comedian. And we always do a really good job of getting a lot of diversity in our lineup. And I'm just super psyched to be able to bring more people to see these kind of great comics that don't get enough airplay. So
Yeah.
we've talked about doing a kid version, like having comedians be able to have their kids tell one or two jokes.
Oh, I love that so
Yeah,
much. That's
I think
so
so
cute.
too.
Here's the thing. Kids say the darndest things, right?
Yes.
Like we all know that. We all know that. Kids are hysterical.
Oh my God.
I would so love that. Oh, please do it.
I think we'll do it. We have our next show is Father's Day on June 19th. And if you're interested, it's called Day Drinking with Mom and it's on Facebook. You can find us. We have a group called Day Drinking with Mom, the Daily Dose, where you get daily dose of funny. And then we have our regular show where and we're selling tickets are just $5. And then all the money. And the great thing too, actually, and I hate to say this because I've always been grateful to clubs to host us, but not having a club means that we get to keep the money, which is awesome. Because whenever you have it in a club, you've obviously got to give part of the club, part of the door because they do all the things. So that part's actually been a really great thing for comedians because we're all terribly out of work at the moment because you can't have an audience. And so it actually helps everyone kind of help people get acquainted with them on social media and then follow you and then get to pay you a little bit and get to hear some of your funny when we weren't coming to your town. So anyway, I'm hoping that it helps us pivot.
Definitely. And I think too, right, people are realizing oh, there's so many things that we actually can do online. We're just so conditioned to, which is fine. Like we're gonna get to do that again eventually. Fingers crossed. I hope. And people like you and I who are extroverts, we miss people, we want to be around them, and all those things. But also, we can do stuff online, and it opens us up to larger audiences that don't have to be right there in the room with us. I love that.
Yes, I think that's a thing, and I think the other part is I've been curious. For years, people that have disabilities have said, "Hey, can you make accommodations for me?" And it's always been, "No, if you're not in this office, you can't do this thing." And now I love that so many jobs have realized, "Oh, we can have people who are productive remote," which opens up possibilities for people who had mobility issues or have issues with time of day they can work and all kinds of stuff like that, and they can probably get more gainful employment. I know, for example. In a job that I had, we had a lady gave birth to twins and she was a writer and she said, "Can I work from home?" And the company said no.
And you're
And
like, but it's writing. I'm
I
just going
know,
to do it on my
right?
computer anyway.
Well, she could have done it completely around her twin schedule. And we would have been able to keep that mother employed. And that's kind of stuff makes me crazy. And so now I'm hoping with COVID-19 that companies will start to look at it a little more creatively and go, okay, this person has chronic fatigue syndrome, which means it is hard. They can't sit at a desk for 8 hours in a row, but I can still get 8 hours of work out of them if we're cool with spacing it through the day and then being a little more patient. We can use them, and that maybe opens up possibilities for people in our community in a way that we hadn't thought of before. I'm really hoping that ends up being the case.
Yeah, I love that you pointed that out. I actually had the same similar experience. I worked for a great company, but it was very far. It was like 37 miles from my house, and I live in Houston, so that 37 miles, as long as I left by 6 in the morning, I could get there in an hour.
Yeah.
And then I would leave at 4, and it would take me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get home, get my child, and get him to his extracurricular.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm spending over 3 hours a day in the car. I'm completely exhausted. We don't
Oh my
get home
God.
until 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. You know, we got to eat, we got to go to bed, and I wake up and I do it all over again tomorrow, and I'm just worn, slapped out. I work on the computer all day long. There's no reason I can't do this from home. So I asked, hey, can I do this from home? Maybe even just part-time. And I had 2 bosses at the time. One was here in Houston with me in my office, and he was like, yeah, that sounds great. But just make sure you get it cleared by the other boss. Well, my other boss was remote from me. She was in Dallas. And so I was already remote to her and the rest of our team, that part of my job. And I asked her, and she was like, yeah, no. And I'm like, but I'm already
even though she's remote. Even though she's remote, that's rich. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I say she was remote. She worked in the office in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
So I was remote to them essentially. And I was like, but I'm already remote. You already don't see me. So I don't get it. I don't understand. And so that was that. And so here we are. Now I have a podcast and I work from home, and it's fantastic. So it all worked out in the end.
It does. It does work out in the end. And I do think like we end up, I love that you've said that. By the way, I never understood road rage until I was trying to pick up my kid from daycare, and it's $1 a minute when you're late. And I remember when I was single, I was like, why is everyone upset? And now I'm like,
it's no big deal. We'll all get there.
I know. I used to always wonder like why people were so wigged out. And then when you have babies, you think, because nothing feels jerkier than being the last parent to pick up their kid from childcare.
And doing it late.
Yes. And the lights are off in all the other rooms except the one teacher staying with your kid who's like, I think my mom's coming. And you're like, ah. So I am like you. I am trying desperately to figure out, it's not so desperate. I mean, I have ways to do it now, but I've actually, comedy is happening. And then I actually am also writing a course. You know, I shot ad for Target for years as a photographer for 20 years. And I'm writing Thanks. I loved it. I'm writing a book on how to photograph your kids with your cell phone, because there's all these courses out there about how to photograph your kids with really nice cameras, but the best camera is the one you have on you. And it's
absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm sort of obsessed in a lifetime, you know, you have these themes in your life that come over and over to you. And one of the biggest themes that has come to me is, you know, there's a story you tell yourself, and the adults in your life kind of tell that story for you when you're a kid. And part of the way they do that is from photos. You know, if you have a photo of you screaming as a baby, like, oh, all you did was cry, you know, or are you laughing? Like, oh, you had the cutest smile. Right. And and I just think that like we can look at our children differently. So like for me, I was always, again, we talked about the report card, chatty, whatever, instead of something like, oh my gosh, she wants to be a performer. Let's get her on a stage. Right?
Yes. Thank you. Oh, that would be so nice if we could alter the comments.
Yeah. The narrative, just a narrative about our kids and about ourselves too. So for example, the gentleman that I'm dating is a very logical thinker. So you could look at it and say, he's a cold fish, he's unemotional, he's removed. Or you could look at him and say, this is how I just prefer to see it because it makes me like him more, is he's super analytical. He's got great brain power skills. He's very focused. And so I just know that if I'm looking for warm bread, I'm not going to the hardware store. Right. So, so whenever I want to know I want to feel connected to him, I actually say, I'm feeling really disconnected from you because he knows I'm a big feeler. And then it's
Yeah.
logical. Oh, Wendy is disconnected. I should increase our connection by applying the following 3 things she's told me she enjoys: calling her by a nickname, making a small joke, physical touch. I'm not even kidding, but he'll do
Like
it.
it's a blueprint. Like here's your
Yes,
instruction
yes.
sheet for Wendy.
Yeah, but here's the funny part is I really like him. So I want him to win. So instead of me sitting back going, you should just know how to make me feel better without me
Right.
telling you, I have told him like, hey, dude, when you see that I am upset, here's 4 things you can do that will probably get me out of my funk, or at least
Yeah.
let me know that you're trying. And if I know that you're trying, then I'm going to meet you halfway and we're going to be in a good spot. And so far it's worked really well. Because then instead
I love
of
that.
yeah, well, and I do that with my kids too. Like I know that Grayson is like me and gets really worried when he thinks people don't like him. So in order to motivate him, I have to make sure he knows like, hey, everyone's going to really love this. And oh, everyone's going to be sad if you don't do it. And that'll get Grayson to do something. If I say it needs to get done, he doesn't care. You
He's
know,
like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't get done. Here's a perfect example real fast. The sight words you mentioned. So we have a kid in Grayson's class. I'm going to use his real name because I'm bragging on him. It's called Odin. Odin has already passed all of his sight words for kindergarten and first grade. And they published it on Facebook. It was like on the Facebook post, like, hey, Odin's already finished his words for kindergarten and first grade. Come on, you guys, you can do it. And for me, that would have been motivating, right? I would have been like, I got to catch up. I look at Grace and I said, hey, Odin has already done all of his sight words. And he goes, well, he's really smart. That's cool.
And he's like, so
Yeah,
I'm
how's that
not,
relate to me?
don't come
Yeah.
at me, girl. Don't come at me. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah. And so it was really funny because part of me as a girl who liked to be nerdy and achieve was annoyed. I'm like, I want you to be nerdy and achieve. And I'm like, no, you know what a gift it is to have a kid that's not full of anxiety and stressed out about not achieving? Like he's zen about being where he is. Why don't you let him be okay with that until it's not okay anymore? Why are you trying to? Yeah. So I don't know. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention, we talked a little bit about unique gifts and talents, and you're totally zoning in on exactly that with both of the men in your life is that I need to accept you the way that you are and play to your strengths. Right. And that's what so many of us don't do that, right? Like you realize I'm chatty, I like to connect with people, I'm kind of funny, I can disarm people, and then you're like, oh duh, comedian, this makes so much sense now. But if you kept trying to be someone that you weren't, right, then you would have never found this and never realized how much you love it.
Well, I took an office job entering serial numbers for diesel engines that were being imported into the Western Hemisphere because my parents told me I needed a dependable job when I first got out of college. And every
that sounds
day,
like the worst job of all time.
It was horrible. It was, you know what? It's great for someone who's logical and organized. And I am neither of those things. And every day I would have to, do you know what Emmentrol is? It's like an anti-nausea medication. I would take a dose of Emmentrol walking to that building every day because I felt like I was going to puke. If you are in a spot where you feel like you're going to puke at work, you're probably at the wrong job. That's your body going, dude, this is not your deal. And I used to do this speech when I would hire people, or if I have to fire people, I would say, hey, and this is so silly, but it's true. And I believe it. I would go, there's a job out there for you where you're going to wake up in the morning and be like, oh my God, I can't wait to do it. And when you arrive, people are going to be like, yes, it's going to be great because they're here, right? This is not that job. So I need to set you free to find where you're supposed to be because it's not here. And in a weird way, that's a gift.
It's totally a gift.
It is. At the time you feel like, oh man, they don't want me. Well, maybe that's great because the people who will want you will really want you and you got to go where you're really wanted. So if you're in some place that you're stuck, get out of there. Life is very short and you spend a lot of time at work. So if you're not in a place that's in your zone of genius or playing to your strengths, you got to find a way out of there to get to a place where people are going to adore you because it is out there for you.
100%. Totally agree. And two, right? Like if you're stuck there being miserable in this job, you're keeping the person that is meant for that job that would be so happy to show up there and do that job from that job. So yeah, please get out of there for everyone involved.
I say that over and over again because I'm like, you are keeping the person, exactly. You're taking space from someone who would kill to have this job.
Yeah. And would be awesome at it and not want to, poke
not
their
regret
finger down
it.
their throat.
Yeah. Yeah, or be angry or bitter or pissy or aggravated. It's like, anyway, the best thing about online, Melissa, and I'm so psyched to have met you online too, is that you can find your people and find your tribe that think like you and enjoy you and value what you have to do and say and offer in the world. And because there's a billion people out there and your people are out there, you just got to find them. That's the trick, right? But they are there. And if people around you don't get you or think you're too, whatever the expletive, whatever the superlative is, who cares? Maybe you're not meant to live in that part of Iowa. Who knows?
Amen. Well, it's funny too, right? I keep saying that we always think that our tribe is supposed to be the people that are in our current town that we live in. But I have not found that to be true.
No,
my people are everywhere.
Yeah, if you're lucky, it's great to have a neighbor that's your bestie. That's fantastically wonderful. But like you, I've met people from moving all over the US, and I have these like besties that sort of stick with me that you may not talk on the phone to all the time, but you shoot off a text or shoot off a Facebook message. No matter how time has passed, they don't make you feel guilty for that. They just meet you where you're at, and it's like no time has passed.
Yes.
This past year, I do a lot of consulting for companies, because if you have to have long trainings, you want to hire comedians, because if you have to listen to someone for 8 hours, you want to listen to someone entertaining. Yeah. So this past year, I actually I launched a program for a big company. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who they are, but they sound like Unkin Nuts. I was like, just kidding. It's a donut shop that serves coffee. It's really big on the East Coast. Anyway, they're great. I actually have to tell you, it's one of the coolest companies I've ever worked with in my whole life. And they were like, hey, we need 12 people just like you to do a show that we're doing for 100 people. And we do it, it's this many hours a day. And I'm like, awesome. And I got to call some of my favorite people from my entire working career and said, hey, do you want to come on an adventure with me? We're going to hit all these different cities doing a show for this company. And we're going to talk about donuts and coffee. And they were like, yeah. And it was the most fun, because I got to, I was traveling on planes. Yeah. And we had a great time. And then COVID-19 happened. But anyway.
Oh, well, what's so funny? We were talking earlier about my voice, and I thought, man, I would love to do like trainings or recordings or something like that. How the heck did you get into consulting and stuff like that with companies?
So first of all, if you want to do voiceover, which is really a thing people do, there's actually agencies that can help you get voiceover jobs. But what I did was I got hooked up with a company called Market Source that does training for big companies. So they hook up a lot with manufacturers that make stuff but don't know how to sell stuff or train people on how to use stuff, and they design training for that. So that's literally it. And they hire actors. They hire actors all the time to be in those. Hi, and welcome to this video on how not to trip on stuff and fall down at work. Those people are out there. So,
oh my God, I want to be one of those people.
Well, just all you have to do is start a website that says like Melissa Stewart, voiceover actress, and have examples. You do it. And then basically they just hire you. And that's work you can do remotely as well. They send you a script and you read it into a microphone and they splice it onto video, and there you are.
So easy. So easy. A monkey could do it.
Well, so the thing that makes it always hard is it is literally about who you know, obviously. And but in order for people to get to know you, you've got to get out there. So I think anyone who wants to do stuff like that, you just put on your LinkedIn voiceover actor or voiceover available. Put on your website. I do voiceovers. Here's an example. Have a portfolio. I was just looking to hire someone to run my social media pages, because I have a lot of them now. And I was like, send me a portfolio. And people, if they had just sent me their own Instagram, but I had people send me Instagrams that had like 18 followers and 60 people. I'm like, what? Like,
You're
so
like,
yeah, I'm like, I think I might have found someone, but if you are that person for me, reach out. But anyway, but I would just tell you, like, do the things you love to do and put it out there, and then someone will find you. I think that's the thing.
Yes, totally, completely agree. And make sure that you are completely authentic and aligned with what you actually want to be doing.
Yes.
Stop for the love of all that is holy. Yeah. Just stop forcing yourself to do stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing I love the most is you can really be you right now. And if this week has taught us anything, it's that the world is more open than ever to listening to voices that don't all look the same and don't all sound the same. And just be your, like that. Do you know the lady who made the carrot bacon on TikTok? Did you
No.
see this? Oh my gosh. There's this African American lady with a big afro who's vegan. And she goes, "Do you see carrots or do you see bacon? Let's make some carrot bacon." That's what she said. And she goes
Oh
like,
my
"Okay,
God.
I'm going to shave the bacon like so, like that." And she has this like phrases that she says. And she goes, "This is going to be your concoction to make the bacon." It's the most calming voice I've ever heard. Never heard of the lady. She now has like 3 million TikTok followers, big old afro, voice like that. And that is not the stereotypical waspy person that you see on Selling You House Cleaner. But now I literally have bought all the things to make carrot bacon from our Amazon affiliate link because I just fell in love with her. And I just
Oh my
didn't know
God,
she was
that's so
there.
cute.
Yes, we
I
bought all
love
the
that.
stuff and made carrot bacon, which was not
Was
even
it
a thing.
good?
It's delicious.
Oh,
It's crunchy. It
I
tastes
want
like
to
a
make
barbecue
carrot
chip.
bacon now.
I know. I'm like, how have I lived this long without having carrot bacon? But what I'm saying to you is, and maybe when I was a kid, I read that Purpose Driven Life book, by Rick, whatever his name is. And he's a pastor, but he talks about, so it has a religious bent, but it talks about how, you are created in this magical alchemy. And that's exactly who you're supposed to be. So don't wish that your hair were straighter or curlier or blonder or pinker. I mean, do whatever you have in your head. You can change your hair whatever you want, but don't spend a minute feeling like, oh, I wish my legs were longer, stuff you can't change, because all that stuff that's how you were put here. And there's a
Yeah.
reason. And you're the only you. So just lean into being you. And the best thing about if you're a little bit weird is there's a tribe of weirdos out there waiting for you. So just,
We're all
keep doing the
weirdos.
stuff you think is cool. Oh, yeah, 100%. Do you think Melissa's normal? Come on.
No
I'm just
way.
kidding.
I think most people realize that by now.
No, but I think I don't know. I just really want people to lean into that and then embrace it, because it felt like, I don't know about you, but I felt often in corporate environments like I was trying to play a game that I was never going to win, because I just was never going to fit into this mold of I'm wearing 3-inch heels and a pencil skirt and my hair looks great and I go from day to night on the town, and now I'm just not cool.
I know, right? Oh my God. I totally felt like that at my company too. I was like, I'm quite a bit older than everyone else here, and I'm just not cool like that. Like, I'm just not cool like that. But that's all right.
I'm not. I'm genuine
Yeah,
though. Ugly but
exactly.
honest. Yeah.
Stop. Oh my gosh. Okay. This has been so, so, so much fun for me. I hope that all the listeners are having fun listening to you and they can't wait to follow you, I'm sure. Let's do a quick rapid fire. What is a
Sure.
book, article, person, or talk that's changed your life?
And loving what is, it's about falling in love with reality. So instead of wishing your life into someone else, it's falling in love with who you are. Loving What Is by Byron Katie.
Ooh, I love that. I love that so much. What is your favorite Friday night at home?
Oh, Friday Night Home. I am a huge Star Wars fan, so I could watch almost any of the Star Wars movies. The prequels are icky, but the new ones I love too. Star Wars I like kettle corn. You got to have kettle corn and ginger
Okay.
ale. Kettle corn, ginger ale, and a good movie. I'm good.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, my family could watch Star Wars like 24/7. So yeah, not me, but they
Yeah,
could.
but I recognize.
What was your dream job as a kid?
Oh, I used to want to be a zookeeper. We lived in Virginia near the National Zoo, and I really wanted to take care of the pandas. We had Ling Ling and Sing Sing, and I thought if I could just shovel bamboo into those furry little beasts, that would just be the best thing in the world.
Oh, that's so
Or an astronaut.
precious.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, I love that. That's so cute. Tell me what your next vacation is that you're planning.
Oh my
If
gosh,
we
let's
ever
just
get
go
to do that
anywhere
again.
right now, right? Doesn't it feel like we'll never get to go anywhere again? Well, we were going to go to, my best friend has a cabin in Canada, but the border is closed to Canada, so we can't do that. So Canada is probably going to be the attainable goal. My parents, going down to Florida would be really great to see Panama City Beach, where they love. But I
Love
really
it.
want to get back to Germany. I was an exchange student to Germany when I was 16, and my family still lives over there. And my host mom is still alive, and I would really like to see her again. So.
Oh, that's so fun. Yes, you should totally do that. What is your best advice to help our listeners live with audacity?
If you are uncertain of what your strengths are, ask people that love you. First of all, surround yourself with people who love you and champion you. And then ask one of those close friends of yours, what do they think is special, unique, or different or cool about you? And then sit with that for a minute and think about it. Because sometimes you don't see your own magic. You need the people around you to see what is special about you and to help remind you. So, and then just cultivate people in your life that are honest with you, that want the best thing for you. And when you have those people in your life, you're going to just be in a better spot. So
I love that. I love that so much. I think that's really, really valuable because you're right. We can't always see the good inside of us, right? We're used to beating ourselves up. So I love that you said we could get someone that loves us to tell us about ourselves. I love that. Where can people find you to get more information about you and your album and all the things?
Well, I would love it if you did. So wendymayburycomedy.com is where you can read all about the album. It does say explicit. I didn't realize that saying the S word was that bad, and it is. So I'm sorry. I won't do it next time. Anyway, so wendymayburycomedy.com. Don't hesitate to download it. I just say the S word and then the B word one time too. And you can go to Facebook. It's Wendy Comedy. Twitter is Wendy May. Instagram is Wendy May. And at Facebook, if you look for Wendy Maybury, I'm the only one there, I think. And it's Bury. But please come be friends. If you like this podcast or what I had to say, let me know. I'm sure you know Melissa too. You do work in a vacuum sometimes and you wonder, like, did anybody care about that? And one of the best things that ever happened was when I was in 4th grade, I read a book. It's just like those really goofy, dramatic novels you read when you're a little girl, right? But there was a line in there that said, "Don't run from pain; it'll make you tough and tender." And it just stuck in my brain my whole life. And then I looked up the author the other day on the internet, and I sent her an email and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, when I was like 9 years old, I read a book that you wrote and it said this line in it and it has stuck with me my whole life." And she just wrote the nicest email back. She goes, when you're an author, you put stuff in the universe and you never know where it goes. And for you to come back and tell me that many years ago has just made my day. And it made me feel great too, to know that mattered to her. So I've been trying really hard when people say things that strike me to just reach out to them, and you'll be amazed at how good it feels, that connection, to say, "Hey, you said this and it meant something to me." I bet you'll hear back, "Oh, thank you." Because you don't hear it enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yes. We are surrounded by so much negativity all the time. We sometimes forget, like, hey, I should tell this person that really touched me. We just take it and then we hold it to ourselves a lot of times. So yes, absolutely. Please tell the people that you enjoy them. I love that.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
I will put all of the links in the show notes, of course. And man, I can't wait to talk to you again sometime. This has been so much fun.
I know. You know what? I'm so grateful that you made the time, because I've loved seeing all the stuff that you put on the internet. And now I feel like I know you even better. And I'm super excited to see what you do next, Melissa.
Thank you. Hey, y'all. I had to jump in here real quick because I need a favor. If you are loving the Live with Audacity podcast, I need you to do me a big solid favor and share it with your friends, share it on social media, and go to the Apple iTunes link and click subscribe, rate it, review it. I need to know your feedback, and I want to keep putting this out for you, so I really need your help to get the message out. Thank you so much for your loyalty and your super kind and sweet words. They mean so terribly much to me.